What's going on, everyone? So, Chris Paul might finally be heading to the Los Angeles Lakers. This is something that has been talked about for years, right? Obviously, dating back to the nixed Chris Paul to the Lakers trade back when Kobe was with the Lakers, right? What would that have been, right? That's one of the greater what ifs in NBA. You know, prime Chris Paul, what would he have looked like? Saw it alongside, a prime Kobe Bryant at that time would have been just really special. But you go and fast forward to, the time that LeBron's been on the Los Angeles Lakers, and basically every year we've heard Chris Paul to Lakers, like, is this the year? Is that the year? He gets bought out. He's coming to the bench, right? And he ends up year after year going to other places, right? This past season, he went to the San Antonio Spurs, which was, in my opinion, I thought was a great pickup for the Spurs, and I thought made a lot of sense for him, right? There was, of course, arguments, and, there was the, hey, if he was ever going to do it, this would probably be the best time. But I just thought the Spurs, it made the most sense for a young team that really just needed that veteran stability, somebody that could help grow and develop that team. Well, now Chris Paul is getting towards the end of his career, just turned 40, right? So, he's up there in age. He did play all 82 games for the San Antonio Spurs and started all 82 games last year for a guy that hadn't had a great injury history, the handful of previous years, right? Now, obviously, look, Chris Paul doesn't make any sense for the Los Angeles Lakers in any type of starting capacity or starting role. If he wants a backup role, right? I don't hate the idea of him on a vet minimum contract if he was to come in to give some stability on the bench, especially with how bad our bench has been. It'd be nice to kind of have a guy off the bench that, is that veteran, has been there, done that, can kind of elevate and help this team. I mean, the numbers don't lie. Every team he's on, you see exponential growth as far as that team goes. So he's still having that impact, right? No brainer on a vet minimum, in my opinion. I know people worry about the age and all that stuff, but again, you need nice balance. Yes, we need some youth. Yes, we need some athleticism. Yes, we need some centers. We need a lot. But you also need those guys on the bench that come playoff time and during the course of the regular season can kind of take pressure off of LeBron, take pressure off of Luka, right? Guys that you can trust in big moments and big spots. Now, here's the thing though. Chris Paul, one of the reasons he went to the Spurs is because he wanted to play and he wanted to start. He wanted heavy minutes, right? That's why he went there, got the salary that he got, and started. I mean, the Spurs stuck to that so tight that even when they traded for De'Aaron Fox, Chris Paul still started alongside De'Aaron Fox, right? So, you look at the Chris Paul situation, he even said in a press conference that, the reason he went to the Spurs was for that. Right? That it was a young team that he just, if he's going to go and do all this travel and all the work and all that stuff, he wants to be able to play as much as possible. If he wanted a ring chase or whatever, he could have went to, a veteran team trying to compete and contend for championships. Okay, well, what has changed? Right? That's the thing, right? Why is Chris Paul all of a sudden being linked to the Los Angeles Lakers? Is there, a real rhyme and reason, or is it just kind of all smoke? And it looks like he wants to, or his family wants to, finish in Los Angeles. So, per reports, Chris Paul and his family live in LA, and it sounds like he wants to end his career in LA. I talked to my family about it. My son is 16, my daughter is 12. The past 6 seasons, I have lived without them. I've been away from them the past 6 years. That's the conversation. So again, Chris Paul is looking at it as, hey, my family, I'm constantly away from my family because, I'm playing basketball and I'm on all these teams and stuff. My family resides in Los Angeles, right? So going to a team like the Lakers finally to play alongside LeBron James, makes some sense. Now you could argue, a team like the Los Angeles Clippers could definitely be an option as well. I do think he'd probably go to the Lakers. Here's my thing though about Chris Paul to the Lakers, right? Again, if you could get him on a vet minimum contract, and if he's okay playing, 15 to 20 minutes a night, right? Some nights you might have him start here and there, Luka gets the night off or something like that, start Chris Paul, fine, right? But to me, I don't think Chris Paul makes sense if you have Austin Reaves, right? Because the whole point of Luka, LeBron, and Reaves is that all three of those guys can run the offense, be on ball, make the plays, right? Austin Reaves is the poor man Luka Doncic, right? Like, that's the whole point. So it's like, you don't need another ball handler, playmaker, facilitator that is best with the ball in his hands as that facilitator when you have Austin Reaves, LeBron James, and Luka Doncic. Now, again, if you were to trade Austin Reaves, and now you had Luka, LeBron, and then Chris Paul as that guy off the bench, and you're staggering LeBron. Plus, LeBron doesn't really want to have the on-ball duties, right? He doesn't really want to necessarily be the point guard. He doesn't mind in spots, but that's why he's been begging for, Russell Westbrook and a Dennis Schroeder and a D'Angelo Russell, and then fast forward to Luka Doncic, right? So, to me, if the Lakers keep Austin Reaves, I just, where does Chris Paul fit unless they're just making Austin Reaves a shooting guard? But then what? He's just primarily playing off ball, right? Is LeBron just not going to have the ball in his hands anymore? I don't see that happening. Luka and Chris Paul make no sense slotted alongside each other, right? Chris Paul made a ton of sense with the Lakers pre-Luka, right? Because it was like, man, him, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James have that bench scoring, that bench playmaking, right? Not a guy that's going to get you 20, but he's a guy, that can still go get you 8 and 8 off the bench, be a playmaker and facilitator, grab a couple boards, knock down the three ball, right? It made sense. Well, now you have, again, Austin Reaves, Luka Doncic, and LeBron James. It doesn't make as much sense anymore. Because again, I think you could play Chris Paul and LeBron together, but can you really play Chris Paul and Luka together? Right? Is Luka going to be willing to play more off ball? Is Chris Paul going to adapt and, now basically be a two guard? I don't know if he's necessarily, how well that would work. And then you still have Austin Reaves, who is going to be on ball and the playmaker and be kind of slotted in as your second guy on many nights, like we saw with LeBron, where, hey, kind of let those two do their thing. I'll kind of fit in, around those two type thing. Well, if you have Chris Paul, it's just, you get what I'm saying? But now if the Lakers were to trade Austin Reaves, now I think Chris Paul makes more sense. Now there's still the concerns about Luka and Chris Paul, but when Luka's not on the basketball court, you could have Chris Paul on the court. Right? And then I do think you can have some experimentation with those two, just like you see, Reaves and Luka at times, one, with the ball in his hands, the other not. So I like Chris Paul for his high IQ, right? Decision-making, playmaking, right? He's a guy that I absolutely think could impact and elevate the Lakers team because he's done it every single team he's ever been on. Again, go look at the percentages before Chris Paul and with Chris Paul. It's insane, right? The guy's win rate or win percentage is ridiculous, right? So I do think he's a guy that even with the Spurs, you saw that difference, right? And that was with Wemby missing most of the season, and De'Aaron Fox coming in. He ends up missing a good chunk of the season. So I think Chris Paul, if you can get, again, 4 of that minimum off of a bench role. Now, again, if he wants to start or anything, then, good luck to you. But any of those things where I think Chris Paul, the best place for Chris Paul is probably the Dallas Mavericks. Because I think he starts almost all the season, if not most of the season. And that team would be tailor-made for Chris Paul, just for him to wheel and deal with Anthony Davis and Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively and, Klay Thompson and all these. I think Chris Paul on Dallas makes all the sense, and he probably could start. But if he wants to be with his family more and his children more and his wife more and all that, then it makes sense that, hey, let me go to a team like the Lakers. But is he willing to kind of fit in is the question, right? Because it's hard to go from I played all 82 games, started all 82 games and played 30 minutes a night to now I'm going to take on a bench role and play 15 minutes. And some nights I might only play 10. And, it's just, if he is, then great, right? If he is, then again, I'm all for him. Just he could be our Rondo of 2020, right? Where people thought Rondo was cooked. People thought Rondo was, he's this, that. I mean, look, again, Chris Paul is coming off of an 82 game season in which he started all 82 games. Best ability is availability. right? And so that would be fantastic. He played 28 minutes per game, shot 7 attempts on 42.7%, shot 38% from three-point range on 4.5 attempts. That'd be great, right? Give me a 38% three-point shot. Like, I would rather have Chris Paul than Gabe Vincent, right? Like, honestly. So I think what Chris Paul did, he shot 51.4% from two-point range on 2.6 attempts. So he was primarily a three-point shooter, right? And playmaker, shot 54.7% EFG, 92.4% from the foul line, gave you 4 rebounds, 8 assists, 1.5 steals. I'll round up and say half a block and 9 points. So he's basically a 9, 8, and 4 guy, or 9, 4, and 8 guy. It's fine. Especially off the bench. Give me that. That'd be beautiful. And, if he could do that in 15, 20 minutes of action, that'd be fantastic. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions either way down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.